Hello, my name is Carolina and I will be talking about child poverty. What is child poverty? Children are a vulnerable part of society. They certainly need help when it comes to necessities such as food, housing, safety, and education. In an ideal world, all children should be able to go to bed without feeling hungry or unsafe. The crude reality is that poverty exists and it affects the future of Canada because children are the future of all societies. Consequences to child poverty are not immediate. Therefore, it does not grab immediate attention when compared to other social problems such as racism or sexual harassment. Nonetheless, just because the consequences are seen in the long term, it does not mean it is non-existent. There might be people who do not view this as a social problem. Because for it to be a social problem, it is necessary for people to view this issue as harmful towards people within society, which will lead for the search of possible solutions. The resolution made by Parliament to eliminate child poverty by the year 2000 has been a rocky climb. There has been improvement, as will be explained with the following statistics, yet it is still existent. It is unfortunate that there is still poverty in Canada of about 1.3 million children. To be able to understand child poverty, it is important to state what the measurement is to define a family that is in poverty. The market basket measure is a threshold that helps define which families live in poverty in Canada. MBM is not the same across Canada since cost of house, food, and clothing vary among different provinces. Family size is also considered in the calculation of MBM, as well as disposable income, which is income that is left after taxes are deducted. For instance, in 2018, a family of 4 in Ontario have an MBM of 42,933 in Windsor versus an MBM of 48,142 in Toronto. Families pay rent, food, transportation, and more with disposable income. After necessary expenses, discretionary income is left to spend on wants. Poverty rates have decreased by 6.4% from 2015 to 2021. This is due to changes such as better jobs in the labor market, government assistance in the form of transfers such as Canada Child Benefit, Employment Insurance, and Canada Pension Plan, GST and HST credit, and old age security. From these, CCB has had the greatest impact of them all. Poverty rates have decreased by less than half of what it used to be in 2015, especially for those who are 17 years old or less. Single-parent families went from a poverty rate of 62.7% to 31.3% in 5 years from 2015. However, it is important to point out that they are still the highest poverty rates among the possible family types. The highest poverty rate being that of a single mother with children 5 years old and younger is followed by a family structure of a single father with children whose ages are between 0 and 5 years old. It is also important to note that Aboriginal children represent a high percentage when it comes to child poverty, and they are more likely to live in poverty as well. So what? The issue of poverty does not stop here. Children who live in poverty generally do not have the resources for adequate, well-rounded education, nutrition, and needs for a healthy upbringing, which includes the guidance and help from adults not only in physical needs but mental as well. Children who live in poverty also experience abuse, and often this includes children being neglected. There are not enough risk assessments of cases where children have died due to neglection from their parents. This might be due to social workers not having proper training, inadequate sharing of information, as well as lack of facilities for placement, inadequate coordination, foster placements that have failed, and a need for planning that is more long-term than short-term for children who are under the care of the government. Children who live in poverty are also more likely to suffer emotionally and show these problems through anxiety, disorders, and behaviors that could be leaning towards aggressiveness. This in turn leads to a lower quality of life and then to poverty in a longer term, otherwise known as chronic poverty. As those children grow, they also have expectations. Teenagers in Canada are expecting to follow a career, graduate, get a job, get married, or own property, be financially stable, and someday achieve their goals of where they would like to be as they grow older. To be able to create a stable nation, all systems and institutions within the nation must work together to be able to provide and utilize the resources to the common good of everyone involved. This means having capable, trained, and ground professionals who have received proper education with adequate resources and needs fulfilled for them to serve others and continue to improve the nation. These future professionals are today's children. It is everyone's concern to work towards this goal, and child poverty is going against this goal. It is also an expense to the country to maintain these rates of poverty, as the consequences are health issues such as mental illness, violence, and more. It is less costly to provide help with training, education, housing, and job attainment. Conflict perspective would be in favor of this approach, as it addresses limited resources and economic competition. Instead of letting poverty take over the limited resources, it is better to address the matter, as it costs $72 per day to help house a person with needs, as opposed to $486 per day to assist a person suffering from mental health issues. Now what? There are several organizations that have voiced out this concern in Ontario. To this, the province has responded with the Cabinet Committee on Poverty Reduction. The aim of the committee is to better measure and discover indicators of poverty and areas of focus that need to be targeted. As said previously, through the help of government assistance and better jobs, there has been a reduction to poverty rates. There are also initiatives to raise minimum wage, provide dental services for those in need, provide social assistance in the form of benefits for children, and child care subsidies. Other areas that could help is to make low-paying jobs safer by improving the standards and enforcing them. These standards include receiving benefits, vacation pay, and termination pay. Furthermore, providing an affordable roof is also important. For housing to be more affordable means that an individual pay 30% or less of their income before taxes. There is also a plan that is for building assets for those in need. Ontario has invested in a pilot program whose aim is to build enough to be able to receive education or have business. In addition, there is a need to create partnerships between the private sector and the government to be able to create more opportunities for low-paying jobs for them to be able to get proper training. As an individual, there are numerous organizations that help on a broader level and local level. There is Campaign 2000, Canada Without Poverty, Canadian Council on Social Development, Charter Committee on Poverty Issues, Growing Gap, Income Security Advocacy Center, Ontario Coalition Against Poverty, Pay the Rent and Feed the Kids campaign, and more. Depending on the group, there are more active ways to work with children and families. There are also advocacy groups and research groups focused on poverty. For instance, the OCAP makes campaigns against decisions and policies that negatively affect those who are already in poverty. Other groups make sure the provincial government is aware of changes such as the cost of living going up, and they advocate for social assistance rates to increase as well accordingly. An individual can also help by contacting any of these organizations and offering them their services. In my opinion, these could include working pro bono jobs that go with the area of expertise. For instance, a lawyer could contact an organization and they could help locate an individual in need of legal assistance about an unjust situation that would require help. In conclusion, although poverty was not addressed for several years with the aim of ending poverty in the year 2000, there has been progress. It is by no means perfect, yet there are questions that still must be addressed, such as what are the long-term rates that the government wants to achieve, and how long will this take to be completed? The conclusions I can draw are that poverty is still an ongoing social problem, and although the bigger changes are taking place slowly, there is still hope that progress is happening. The organizations mentioned, united, can create a greater voice that must be permanently challenging the government and provinces for constant changes as the economy fluctuates as well. It is necessary for individuals to help, yet united, it becomes a greater voice. For instance, calling the government's attention when there is a possible recession is extremely important, as government could make significant changes through their rates of social assistance and after-tax amounts. As an individual, contacting local organizations whose aim is to help those in need and providing assistance as a volunteer or doing pro bono work according to the skills and abilities is a way to help those in need. Thank you very much for watching the video. My name is Carolina Kim.